Welcome to another episode of An Inside Job: War on Addiction. My name's Ron, and I'm the host. That's what I am. We want to thank LTV again. Every time they're on the money. So thank you, you guys. And I always quote Dr. Gabor Mate. He explains addiction as biological, chemical, neurological, psychological, medical, emotional, social, political, economical, with spiritual underpinnings. The show's on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Leominster TV, go to playlist, scroll down, and look for An Inside Job. We have 52, I guess the number is. Okay, so that's it. We can go right into it. It seems like I always knew that the show was kind of going to go its own way, and I just had to be along for the ride. And so it seems like there is a turning point now. Although I will always get addicts and alcoholics in here to tell their story, but with Danny, as we did last week, it took a different path, talking about reasons why possibly, and just the whole situation. But we're going deeper, and Danny will go as deep as possible. He'll jump off Mount Rushmore. And that's what I'm looking for. What these two episodes are is who are we, the addict? Who are we? And so that's it. Welcome, Danny, again. Thought you weren't going to acknowledge me. So, how do we begin? Who are we? Who are we?
Well, we're a hot mess.
A mess.
I think as I've been, it's funny because I was delayed in meeting up with you because of talking with somebody in my family who was going through an emotional crisis, which there's a lot of that in alcoholic addict families, just, and I don't know. I don't think I ever met a functional family. I guess they're all dysfunctional. But the point to me with someone in recovery, an alcoholic or addict, is that, and this is not just my own idea, of course. This was laid out by the Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob and others who founded the AA program, that the whole issue is a spiritual matter. And I've seen this, in my life. And
What do you mean by that?
okay, I mean that as, for instance, in talking to this family member of mine who had some inner turmoil going on, and I was talking to him about what I was saying was that essentially there's in this particular, as regards his particular problem at this particular time, there is no resolution of that problem going to happen by his force of will. And the only he said, what do I do? Stuff these feelings, And I said, no, you can't do that either, because your head will blow up or whatever, or you have a heart attack. And I said, what it comes down to is that the other party in the exchange that he was going through is not going to, may not recognize the issue at all, or may stonewall the whole thing and not deal with the issue at all. So what it comes down to in just about every kind of confrontation or miscommunication or whatever these issues are, is that you're left to deal with your feelings in the final analysis. And it's a problem, but it's a problem in here. Each individual is the only one who can be responsible for resolving the feelings within himself. And then you say, well, do I have any tools, or who do I talk to, where do I go? And that's where it gets to be an inside job, and it's a spiritual matter. You take it to whoever, a figure in this world or beyond this world, whatever, is the source of your spiritual regeneration, and you work it out in that way, because there's so many things that are not going to be resolved by your own force of will.
So we come into the program, and we are so beat up. I was writing about a little, I said, I was beat up and beat down. There was nothing left of me. Now I couldn't drink or drug it away. I had caused a devastation, and now I had to reap what I have sowed. I didn't have the strength to deal with it, coming in. I didn't have the strength to look back at that catastrophe that I had created. I said it was a David and Goliath situation, and I didn't have a slingshot. I didn't even know where to begin. That's how I came in, and you related that story, but.
I think that's what we call having the gift of defeat when we come,
Yeah.
This is the terminology we use in the program of AA, that we only are, we're only willing to listen and take suggestions, since, as we say, our own best thinking has gotten us to a church basement or whatever. Yeah. We're only able to come to terms with these things when we realize that they're beyond our capacity to deal with them. We've come to the absolute total end, the shredding of all our, everything that we hold in high esteem about our own intelligence and our own insight and our own charm and our own guile and our own, strength of will. We're defeated when we get here, which is why we have the alcohol or the drug has worked so well up to the point where we realize we're done. Sometimes I say today now, jokingly, yes, but when I see someone on television or something, say, in a movie or a situation comedy or whatever, and the person's going on and they got all kinds of, and I'm saying to myself, and sometimes I'll say jokingly to my wife, well, what's he bitching about? He can still drink.
Right.
And I just figure,
exactly.
What would I do in that situation? I'd drink, and but we come to the point when, if we're fortunate, we come to the point still alive in rags and tatters. There was a friend of mine who was in the Navy down in Key West, Florida, when he was drinking. And he said every time he came back to the base after being off for a couple of days and, going on a bender, he came back in his uniform was in rags and tatters. He looked as if he'd been blown off a ship, and I always thought that was apropos. And but when we come to the end, I think, of our confidence in our in our self-will, when we come to the end of that and realize that we can't drink anymore or drug anymore because it doesn't work anymore, we have crossed the line into being an alcoholic or addict, whatever you want to say. And it doesn't work anymore. It only makes us sick and crazy. Whereas, for instance, I know if I were to pick up a drink tomorrow, it wouldn't resolve anything for me. It would make me sick, right, crazy, in trouble, maybe dead, And, but I think we have to have exhausted all our resources, our supposed resources, when we come here, and then we're ready to accept help. We're ready. Maybe a lot of the things that stand in our way, our reliance on self-will and our reliance on drugs or alcohol, or our reliance on manipulating people or situations. Nothing works anymore. And we get here, hopefully, to the place of recovery, and we say, help, I am done. I am a ball of pain, an electric grid of white-hot nerve ends. I'm electrocuting myself, with 100 million volts going through me every second, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I think, too, as I say, hopefully if we make it this far, and one thing that takes, too, which is another issue and is a delicate matter, but for me it was an issue, deciding, do I want to commit suicide? Thinking it over, maybe a bunch of times, and then finally saying, for some reason, no, I'll put that aside. Maybe I'll put that in reserve or something, but I'm going to live, so I got to do something. And then, we're ready to accept help.
How at what point can you, what I'm talking about, people relapsing, which you did. For many, we have to try it out again, get a little better, whether it's a week or 6 months, you're doing well, everything comes together. I think I can have a drink, and how many have we witnessed that it just takes a long time? One guy in particular, 13 years, and he's passed away now, but man, he wasn't going to give up his right to drink. I don't know what kept taking him out, like a lot of people.
I can tell you what happened to me in my first year. I had been to AA in 1976 for a couple of meetings. I thought, oh, I'm an alcoholic. Oh, okay, I'm all set. That's all. I thought that's all I needed to know. I can't drink. Grabbed a few pamphlets out the side door. Stayed sober for a short time.
With AA? Oh.
Without AA.
You just went in?
On relying on my self-will and relying on some information. I'm an alcoholic. I've got these pamphlets. I identified with the speakers that I heard. Beautiful. I won't drink. And of course, I lasted a short time and drank for another 4 years, hopelessly.
I forgot that.
After that, yeah.
4 years.
And then I came back to AA in 1980, and I said, okay, I am whipped. I am defeated at every single turn. And I've seen, a bit of evidence of the success of the program for some people. You people are sober. I don't know. The first thing, I can't do it. What do I do? And I turned myself in, as it were. And I took all the suggestions, went to meetings every day. I had 2 sponsors. I, read the literature. I went through the steps. I did everything that was suggested. I did it, with a feverish desperation. Still 3 times that year, after 2 months, after 3 months.
3 times?
3 times I relapsed. I went back out again. Each time it was, not for long, a few days. The second time was a week. I got shanghaied in a blackout to Narcag Hospital, which was a good thing for me. And I drank one more time after that, a few months later. And that time was only a one-night stand, thank God. And each time, after these 3 times, I said to myself, I'm doing everything that I can think of. I'm taking all the suggestions. I'm doing everything that's recommended to me. What am I doing wrong? Am I one of those who can't make it or whatever, And I was really scared, and I had gotten back to meetings, and
What had you, okay, but let's say what are you talking about, 4 times? After you came back from the 4-year thing.
I relapsed 3 times in the first year in 1980.
But when you picked up that drink, you knew what would happen. I know it wouldn't be the same for everybody, but you knew that you can't drink,
But I thought in just wild insanity, knowing what I know today about myself and about the disease of alcoholism, addiction, I would have to be completely insane to pick up a drink or a drug. But the point is, I can get that insane. And, that's why I still need help today. But the thing that I finally came to after those 3 relapses, and it came into my mind, gift of God or whatever, but I realized that I still was holding on to just this infinitesimally small reservation way down somewhere, that if things got bad enough, if I was going to fall down dead and go crazy, I could pick up a drink. And I had to take that off the table and go, I can never pick up a drink, ever, no matter. And the perfect storm will always come, too. Even that's why we don't give up our conscientious diligence or whatever after a number of years, because the perfect storm can happen. If my wife died, my dog died, I lost my job, my house burned down, but that would never all happen in one day. Oh, yeah? It could happen.
Right.
And, there are wars and there are, strange things in this world. And so we have to continue to work on ourselves and be ready, like, some of the old timers have said, when the bell rings, you got to be ready to come out fighting. But fortunately, it's not, and again, it says, Bill Wilson said, or whoever in the literature, that we are not fighting anymore. We're not fighting the desire to drink or drug or whatever. We've given up the fight, and it's not that same kind of struggle. It's something we can manage. The problem is something we can manage with help. And so we don't have to feel as if we're on the front lines of, with a 50 caliber machine gun every second trying to, we can do it. And as I also found when I came into AA, that I had problems were mountains all around me. Everything was a problem. And I found that just by putting down that drink, within a short time, I still had the problems, but they had shrunk down to a place where they were manageable, where I could deal with them.
After how long do you think? For you?
For me, it was... probably a few months, of coming to meetings on a daily basis. And after I had finished with my relapsing, my sponsor was an old timer, and he made the mistake of telling me to call him every day, call him every night, and I would call him up, Jack B.
Oh yeah.
And I would call him up every night, and he'd say, how you doing, Dan? And I'd say, fine, Jack, yeah. He said, did you get to a meeting? Yeah, uh-huh. And you didn't pick up a drink? No. And, oh, well, that's a good thing, then. You had a good day. I said, but Jack, you don't understand. I've got girl problems, work problems, money problems, car problems, job problems. I've got problems. And, I would start to spin out of control, and he'd say, okay. He'd say, well, it's the end of a day. You've done what you could today. You talked to another alcoholic. You called me. You got to a meeting. And I'd say, well, it's about time for you to put your head on the pillow and take it up again tomorrow. And I'd say, okay, Jack, that's good. But Jack, you don't understand. Right. And I'd go off again. Right. And he told me years later, he said, Dan, you were what we call one of the tightly wound ones. And it took a while for me to spin out, And I think, the whole process overall, you have to spin out, and that's where you get some serenity and, serenity and acceptance and peace of mind and all this kind of stuff. And that you can't be hyped up at battle with your addiction every single minute, And I have found, and others that I know have found, that when you let down your guard and you start to cooperate and you start to open up to receiving help and taking suggestions, the juice starts to move around. And it's very miraculous and mysterious, the things that start to happen, coincidences and, solutions to problems that you never thought of. And, I call this a spiritual, occurrence that you're, and, those that went before me, that's how they framed it as well, that you, only when you put down that guard and lower your self-will, you stop trying to resolve everything by your own will, that you can let the grace of God or the power of the universe or whatever you want to term it, come into your life, and you can start cooperating and working with those forces, And then amazing things start to happen. Your power is multiplied, not in an egotistical power sense, but I mean you become more skillful because you're working in harmony with the forces that are greater than yourself, that are all around all of us.
We have 5 minutes. For me, and I've said it before, I was insulated within the walls of recovery for 2.25 years, and that's what it was for me. I walked in, finally went out, talked to the other elks or addicts, and within a short amount of time, because I told them, you know, I attempted suicide 3 times and lost everything, and they said, just don't drink, don't drink anymore, and like you were talking about, things will get better. Of course they did, but I looked back, or I thought about it after maybe, and I said, holy shit, don't drink. And I thought about all the times, all the jackpots, every time I had to appease my former wife, and for whatever else jackpot I was in, help me out here.
You picked up, you thought of using, you went to the old playbook that didn't work anymore?
I lost my point, man. I need help.
Well, that's what happens to old
I'll
alcoholics.
think about it, yeah.
They've got some-
I'll think about it.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
The great thing too about the is it sounds like a grim struggle. You know, I'm going to do this every
Right.
day, and it's going to be, you know, this is going to be horrible. And the old timers and those who've gone before and the people
Right.
in the know, they have such a sense of humor, you know, and you know, they can just, because they've been there and because they're there for you, they're not just throwing spitballs at you. You know, they say, oh yeah, you had that terrible thing happen. Terrific. That's great. You know, now you got that, you know, you've got that out of the way, or at least the problem is confronting you and you can see the problem now. Terrific. Congratulations. And you go, what are you talking about?
Right. Yeah. And back then it was hardcore, a lot of it, hardcore AA. Those old timers learned from their old timers, which probably went all the way back. And in the beginning, and we know stories, we hear stories. They were tough. We're picking, or your sponsor's saying, we're picking you up at 8. We got to wrap it up. Picking you up at 8, be outside, get in the back seat, shut up. That was it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a wrap. We're going to do one more show.